Hello, my name is Makayla Mitchell, and this is my advocacy project, Revitalizing the Student Inclusion Center and Supporting Student Engagement for Read 622. As for my introduction and a little bit more on the Student Inclusion Center, I wanted to say that with the recent changes in political climate, educational institutions have cracked down on diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, and that has caused some of our students to lose one of their communal spaces on campus. We had a student inclusion center located directly beside of the student lounge that worked as a second student lounge, but also contained inclusive materials, artworks, sensory toys, pride flags, murals, and student decorations. When the Trump administration threatened to withdraw federal funding from institutions who practice DEI initiatives, our institution pulled almost everything out of the space and painted over the mural. Of action for this advocacy project comes directly from my case study and from my research paper that I have done for this topic. And as stated in those, I will work directly with the coordinator of student engagement, and I will act as the chair of the Student Engagement Planning Committee to revitalize the space and ensure that it remains inclusive and accessible to all, even if it has to take a different name and the previous decorations were taken down. I will work with the SEPC to plan and host events in the space to engage students, as well as fill up the space with new decorations, a new mural, and an inclusive and diverse book nook where students will choose the outcome and look at the space within reason. During these events, I will advocate for student inclusion always, and the celebration of the diverse body of students who work so hard to build a community in this space. Within the book nook, I plan to provide some inclusive and diverse readings myself, but I am open to students bringing in topics and books that interest them as well if they would like to share them. On the next slides, I will detail 4 different YA books that I will include. The first book that I'll be including in the book nook is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. This book is about a 16-year-old girl named Star Carter. She's constantly moving between 2 worlds, as she lives in a poor neighborhood and attends a fancy prep school in a suburban area. She witnesses her childhood best friend Khalil die by police violence while he was unarmed. The national news makes Khalil's death a national headline, and Star's family faces pressure and intimidation by police. It is up to Star to say or not say anything about his death, but in doing either, she could endanger her life and the life of her family. I believe that this book would be good for the community book nook within this space, and some students may already be familiar with this book or the movie adaptation. I have also included on this slide the APA citation of this book. The next book that I'll be including in this book nook will be Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli. This book is about a 16-year-old boy named Simon who is not openly gay, but an email that he wrote that could out him falls into the wrong hands, and he faces blackmail if he does not play wingman for the class clown in his class. Not only would he be outed, but his pen pal Blue's privacy would be compromised as well. Simon aims to step out of his comfort zone before he is forced to do so, but while doing so, he wants to make sure that he does not compromise his happiness, himself, alienate his friends, or fumble the shot that he has with the cutest guy he has ever met. I believe that this book would be a good addition to the book nook because it introduces a coming-of-age story with LGBTQ representation, and I have also included the APA citation for this book as well. The third book that I'll be including in the book nook is Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Alir Sáenz. Ari and Dante are polar opposites, but when they meet, they form a special bond that will teach them important truths and help them to find who they want to be. There are big hurdles along their journey, but their support and friendship allow them to emerge stronger. I believe that this book and series would be a great addition to the book nook for students who are struggling to find themselves and may find solace in their friends and their support. And also included on this slide is the APA citation for this book. Last book that I'll be including in the book nook is If I Ever Get Out of Here by Eric Gainsworth. Lewis, otherwise known as Shu, enjoyed life even when difficult on the Tuscarora Indian Reservation in 1975. He was used to difficulties that he faced, but he was not used to white people being nice to him as his friend George came to be. He connected with George through similar music tastes, but Lewis had to lie and hide the poverty of his family from George in fear of judgment. He also faces a bully's wrath, and that continues his stress. Will George still be his friend when he learns the truth? I believe that this book would be a good and diverse representation for this book nook, And it would also show students that coming from a low-income area is nothing to be ashamed of, as many of our students face financial insecurity in their families, and they may find comfort in this book. On the following slides, I have found some helpful web resources that might be helpful in implementing my advocacy project for myself, but they may also be helpful to students in general as we navigate this space and making sure that this space remains inclusive and equitable for all. Although these links are not accessible in this video presentation, I will also include a copy of my PowerPoint itself so that these links are accessible to anybody wishing to view them. And the first one that I wanted to point out is Standing Out in the Crowd, a framework for inclusive and effective student engagement. These resources based out of the United Kingdom, but it can still be helpful as the framework included can be adapted and applied however it is needed. Next blog posting is relatively short, but it's a good reminder of the importance of inclusivity, especially how it promotes student engagement and ensures that students are connected and feel included in the space that they exist in. This next resource is 9 Powerful Ways to Promote Inclusion in the Classroom. And these strategies that are listed in this site may be better adapted in an actual classroom setting, but they can still be helpful when working with students in an educational setting, as I will be using them for my advocacy project and continuing to implement it. This next slide and next web resources from Inclusion to Engagement, helping students engage with schooling through policy and practice. This source is more of an actual PDF and book, and it's directly related to my topic and advocacy project, and it has been tremendous help, and I will continue to use this as I go on. The following slides have 2 learning strategies that I would love to implement for my advocacy project going forward in the following semester. The first is Censorship in the Classroom, Understanding Controversial Issues. This unit plan by readwritethink.org could be increasingly helpful in the changing atmosphere of the student spaces that I'm working in directly with my advocacy project. This unit goes over the importance of the rights of young people have as citizens and what they can do to protect their own rights. This unit is so detailed and goes along well with the current issues at hand. My second learning strategy / lesson plan is Cover to Cover, Comparing Books to Movies. This particular unit strategy by readwritethink.org will also work well within the student spaces of this advocacy project. With the implementation of the Book Nook and the books that are inclusive that also have movie adaptations, it would be a great activity for students to engage to compare those books and their films. As I go on to implement my action plan and my advocacy project, the students will always come first. I am currently a student myself, and it has not been that long since I sat exactly where the students that I work with sit now. My peers and I were not given the same opportunities, and we did not have events or community building as current students do now. So I will do everything in my power to continue to foster that, and to revitalize these spaces that these students are working with, while allowing them the power to choose and build with the most of what they can from what they have. Although I may give them ideas from time to time, this space is theirs. It may be more difficult for things to look the same as they were, but I will advocate for inclusivity always. These students will always have access to diverse topics, and they themselves are a diverse population that should be celebrated. That is exactly what I want to advocate for most, celebrating themselves for all that they have accomplished and continue to build. Through my research for this project, my case study, and my multi-model presentation, I look forward to seeing what these students do with these spaces and how they grow from what is given to them. Thank you so much for taking the time to view my presentation. If you have any questions, please let me know, and I will link the actual PowerPoint so that all links are accessible. Thank you!